Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar from the Women in Technology virtual group at PASS. I'm Kathy Kellenberger, co-leader of the group, and our group typically hosts one webinar per month by a woman in our community. Be sure to check us out. Let's see, get the slide to advance. Be sure to check us out on YouTube. You can find all of the recordings from our meetings there. And check out our homepage as well. We have lots of information about what's going on with women presenting for us and other chapters in SQL Saturdays. And if you're not already a member of our group, please join and you'll get our newsletter each month. And you can follow us on Twitter as well. Past virtual groups would not be possible without the generosity of some wonderful sponsors. We have two sponsors, SentryOne and Redgate. And as part of the funds that they provide, we are able to award gift cards to a lucky viewer each month. If you are the winner, I'll send you an email letting you know from the WIT VC, I think it's just wit@pass.org email box. We always like to promote women speaking at events, especially SQL Saturdays, and there are several SQL Saturdays coming up. And this is kind of interesting because these are all around the world. Guatemala, Wellington, which I believe is in New Zealand, Pordenone, which I've probably really messed up the pronunciation there, that's in Italy, and then Winnipeg and Victoria are both in Canada. So this is just kind of an interesting, there's more later in the month, but this is what we have the schedule for so far. So if you are lucky enough to attend any of these SQL Saturdays, please be sure to support the women speaking at these events. There are also several webinars coming up. Again, we like to promote the webinars even if they are not in our group. We're still working on March right now for our group. We have the one today from Bobby Jo Brighton, and then actually tomorrow, Janice Griffin is giving one for the DBA group on SQL Server indexes. So if you're new to indexes, or you think that maybe there's some things that can help you learn even more, be sure to attend that. Kimberly Tripp has one on stored procedure optimization techniques for the DBA fundamentals group. Kimberly is really probably one of the biggest rock stars in the SQL world, so be sure to check that out. And also DevOps Fundamentals by Kendra Little at the DBA Fundamentals group, and Kendra is also just a fantastic speaker, so be sure to check that out. So today's session is called Winning the Head Game in 2019 by Bobby Jo Brighton. And where will you be 1 year from now? Stuck in the same old problems in mindset, or easily managing change and moving forward in your life and career? And I'm not going to read the whole thing. You've probably read it on your own, but it kind of makes me think about some of the things I've done myself, where I've set a goal and then didn't do anything about it. And then I look back and say, hey, if I've actually set that goal, I'd be at a whole different place today. So she's going to talk to us about this topic and how to really become that person that can set goals and fulfill those things that you want to accomplish in your life. Bobby Jo is a partner speaker and coach with Mental Toughness University. She's been doing this for over 20 years with companies such as Johnson & Johnson, Coca-Cola, GlaxoSmithKline, Merrill Lynch, and she's helping to increase employees' performance, exceeding their sales goals, developing leaders, and embracing and thriving through change. And she's the developer of Women's Mental Toughness at Boldful.life, which addresses key issues that limit women's workplace performance and inhibit women from advancing in their careers and becoming effective, influential leaders. I'm going to hand it over to Bobby, but if you have any questions, please just add them to the chat window. And yes, we are recording this, so you'll be able to check it out again if you want to go back and review out on YouTube. So I am unmuting Bobby, and I am going to make her the presenter. There we go. So go ahead.
All right, hello everyone, and thank you, Kathy and everybody out here. It is a pleasure to be back. I am excited about this topic today. We are at the start of a new year when many of you are actually thinking about, how do I want this year to be different? How do I want 2019 to be the year that I achieve, some goal? And team, what you're going to want to have today is a piece of paper and a pen to take some notes. So if you don't have that yet, go ahead and just get that, pull that aside so you have something to write down on, something to take notes with. So I'm here today to talk to you about this concept of winning the head game. Winning the head game, what's going, and it's really more a matter of taking a look at it from the opposite end of what's going on inside your head that holds you back? What's going on inside that gets in your way from asking for that promotion, for going out, putting your sneakers on and doing your exercise when you said you would? What gets in your way of having those bigger conversations? Okay, so winning the head game. Now, I coach mental toughness. I do executive coaching, leadership coaching, but I do it all under this umbrella of mental toughness. And why is that? Because mental toughness gets straight to the root. It gets to the core inside of you, your belief systems that's in your way of achieving your goals. Mental toughness is the foundation upon which all your other skills are built, your life skills, your communication skills, your leadership skills. So it's this big, important topic that literally touches every part of your lives. And so it's always a test for me to condense this big topic area down into about 45 minutes or so. So I always call these the intense intensive. So we're here for the intense intensive. Now, this thing that we call mental toughness, and all of you have this idea in your head what mental toughness means, but basically some of you have this down already, and I hope that you take away some insights that you can use to take your career to a higher level, or something that you can use to help guide a colleague, or if you're in a leadership position, something to help the people who are reporting to you. Others of you, you're going to be like how I was. Some days you have it, and other times you don't. So what's going on here, and how can I give you some help? So this is very serious, heady stuff, and I like to make it fun. And I'd like to get an idea of who has access to your chat. So go ahead and just give me a hello in the chat so I know that we've got chat function here today, and we can actually make this more interactive instead of me going blah, 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 blah for the next 40 minutes or so. Now, if I'm going to be talking to you about what's going on inside your head, I think it's only fair that you know a little bit about me in the background, some personal things. So a little bit about me in 2 minutes or less. I am in northeastern Pennsylvania, the Pocono Mountain region, and I know that we've got callers from all over the US, all over North America, Canada, and maybe the world. So I'd love to know where you're from. If I can see something like that in the chat and see where you're from. And let me get my slides advancing here properly. My name, Bobby Joe, that is my given name, and that comes from an old 1960s black and white TV show called Petticoat Junction. So if you know this show, let me know. This is the colorized version. I think you can still see it on Nick at Night. And in my bloodline, I have German, Ukrainian, and Scotch-Irish blood in me, and I've learned that this combination has a very unique ability. This combination of German, Ukrainian, and Scotch-Irish means that I have a very high tolerance level for alcohol. Don't think I'm kidding on that. My family, I grew up very blue collar. I grew up in a blue collar factory family. We were farmers and factory workers. So my dad and both my uncles worked for either Mack Trucks or Bethlehem Steel in the Lehigh Valley area of Pennsylvania, which is just about an hour outside of Philadelphia, 2 hours from New York. And I'm a mom, okay, so I'm a working professional mom with 2 boys. This is Ryan and Tyler. If you take a look at Tyler there in the right-hand corner, you can see I'm working with second child syndrome, for those of you who are in that same boat as me. We are a cat family. Here are some of my favorite things. We're a cat family. I love fresh flowers. I am waiting with bated breath for mid-April with the start of the last season of Game of Thrones. Some of my weaknesses, potato chips and chocolate peanut butter ice cream. And these are 3 of the apps I cannot live without. So that is a little bit about me. And let's get into this head game here now, this intensive. Team, I have an image on the screen here for all of you to see. And I know we've got some gentlemen on the phone today, so I want, guys, I want you to translate this to become him. But for the rest of us, the women on the call, we're taking a look at this woman standing on this edge of a cliff overlooking a mountain valley. She's got her hands on her hip, and there's these words, become her. And I've chosen this image because it represents an ideal. It represents an ideal of what's possible for every woman professional. So this is a woman that we're looking at who has arrived at a certain point of success. And I want you to reflect here for a moment. What got her here? Okay? What got her here? Where is she with her confidence? You know, what's going on inside of her that got her to this point? You know, confidence, self-esteem, self-assurance. There's self-trust, that there's a credibility here. There's knowing herself, being comfortable in her own skin. To get there, you know, she took action. She took the steps. She had the difficult, challenging conversations. There's executive presence here. She probably thinks clearly. Undoubtedly, she thinks clearly. She has a clear mind. So there's clarity. There's focus. She's able to focus and not be distracted. And then when the going gets tough, there's tenacity. There's perseverance. This is what ultimate mental toughness looks like in success. And I want you to reflect on this for you. Okay, what does this mean for you? You know, what do you have already? What do you need to develop? Because also what you'll see is she's not done. Okay, it's not, while she's arrived at a certain point of success, she's not done. She's looking into the future because as she became more capable, there's more things now that she can do. There's more possibilities that opened up. There's greater opportunities that opened up. So as she's also looking at where she's going, in addition to where she's come from. So this is the idea, this dream, this idea for all of you to touch into here, because this woman or this man already exists inside of you. It's just buried up. So my point here is this, is that who you are today cannot get you to where you want to be. You must become her. You must become him. You must become that person who's capable of these greater goals. It's an evolution. It's an expansion from where you currently are. And each and every one of you has this already inside you. Already inside you. But most of the time, what gets in our way is all this other stuff. So the women professionals, the women executives, women professionals that I most commonly work with have 1 or 2 states of mind that they are in. And I call them burnout or failure. They are overwhelmed and burning out, or they have a fear of failure. Let's take a look at each one of those individually. And I want you to identify yourself in here. You are in the burnout camp. If you are overworked, you're working long hours, not taking breaks, not getting that downtime. You are overwhelmed by all the responsibilities you have on the job, at home, you feel underappreciated, undervalued as you take care of all this other stuff and all these other things except you, because you're not taking care of you. There's no time for you. And you're feeling unfulfilled, dissatisfied with your life. There's like an emptiness, a loneliness here. You want to take time for yourself. You want to make more time. But when you do, if you do something that's indulging for yourself, you'll feel guilty about it because you should be. There's a voice in your head saying, I should be doing all these other things. And what's really building up deep inside you is this resentment, this bitterness. So go ahead and identify yourself, okay? Identify yourself if, hey, yeah, I've got this going on. I've got this burnout thing going on in my life. Let's take a look at the other camp, fear of failure. Fear of failure are going to be people who are typically high achievers, high performers. You want to live your full potential. You want life to be purposeful, meaningful to you. And in your current position, you may be bored, or you may have gotten too comfortable and you're not stretching yourself. Or you've just gotten promoted because you've been identified as leadership talent and you've now been promoted, and now there's this new area that you're not familiar with that you have to perform in, and you don't want to let the people who believe in you down. But what's inside is this inner critic, this self-doubting inner critic part of you that loves to criticize you, loves to beat you up, loves to punish you, tells you that you're not good enough. And even though the people around you tell you that you're doing great, you feel like a fraud, that you don't belong there, that deep inside, they're just going to find out any moment that you're not as good as you pretend to be. And you may not be seeking those higher positions because you're playing it safe. And there's this conflict here because you want to stretch yourself, but you're playing it safe. And what you're really afraid of is if you don't stretch yourself, you're going to get, and you don't have that courage, you're going to get to the end of your days and you're going to be full of regret. So go ahead and identify yourself. Which camp do you fall into? Which camp do you fall into? Now, we've got the chat function. And Kathy, tell me if you see anybody for the chat. I see a couple people. We have a team. I'm going to pause here. We have 27 people on the call, 25 attending, including me and 27 with me and Kathy. So let's pause here. If you're not using your chat, is it because you're physically not in a space, you're driving in the car, in which case don't use your chat. But if you
using the question, showing up in questions instead of chat.
Showing up in questions?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, so whether questions or chat, I've got both open. And let's see, let's have you identify yourself, where you're at. And what I want you to tap into, if you have access to the chat and you're not using it, then what's going on here? All right, I want you to feel into this. I want you to feel a resistance. Is there a part of you that wants to hide? Is there like some discomfort in sharing where you are with others in the group here? Do you hear words inside yourself? You know, I don't feel like it. I don't want to. Okay, those are the most dangerous words in our language that keep us from our goals. I don't feel like it. I don't want to. All right, and we've got some things coming in now. All right, so we've got, so we got Lisa saying she's, and she's split, and that's a good point. So Lisa, you make a good point here, is that you might have a foot in both camps. All right, so take a note of that if you got a foot in both camps. Nikki, she's got fear of failure. Hannah says, burnout at home and fear of failure. Let's see, Kimberly, burnout with a hint of fear of failure. Sherry, some combination, mostly overwhelmed. Thank you for being honest. Heather, burnout, busy but not feeling challenged. Yeah, there's boredom, there's complacency there. Angelica, burnout at home, failure at work. Imposter syndrome, says Kathy. Yeah, so I want you to see that you're not alone here, okay? You're not alone here. Now, Regardless of what camp you're in, or if you have a foot in each camp, I can tell you there's one thing that's in common. You are stuck. If this is something you are dealing with, working towards burnout or fear of failure, you are stuck. You're stuck. You want to move forward, but you can't. So let's take a look at what being stuck is like. Being stuck is this state of confusion. You know, there's this frustration around it. There's this disappointment, there's annoyance that life isn't going the way I want it to be. It's like, you know, how did I end up here? This isn't the way. You know, why can't I get past this? How do I keep ending up here? You want answers, but you don't trust your managers to give you the answers, because if you take a look at them, hey, they're either burned out or have a fear of failure too. You may have a great mentor, but chances are that mentor doesn't have the time, really have the time to give to you to help you through this. So you remain stuck and you feel that you're wasting your time. You're living your life in circles. So let's get that in the chat as well. Do you feel that you're living in circles? Okay, so let's get that. So again, it's like I said, it's, yeah, so Heather says yes. So let's get some other feedback here too. Angelica says yes. All right, so yeah, if you feel stuck, Kimberly says yes. Lisa, yeah, to some degree. Okay, Hannah, chasing my tail. Yeah, living life in circles. All right, so team, it's like I said, it's not a matter of, you know, me coming on to a webinar like this and saying, do this, do this, do that. It's more a matter of what is going on that's keeping you from doing this, this, and that. And that's what we're going to take a look at. Those of you who joined me last year, you'll remember this. This is a refresher for you. We've got the head game. Okay, the head game is this tug of war inside of yourself. Okay, we are literally dealing with two aspects of ourselves. So some days you have it, some days you don't. We're going to spend a bit of time here. This is what I call the lower self and the higher self. Okay, the lower self and the higher self. What is getting in your way is that lower self. Okay, this is the part of you that resists change. We're going to come back to that in a moment. Our lower self is our survival and protection part of it. It wants to keep us safe. This is the part of us, if you check into your thoughts, chances are you will find you spend most of your time not thinking when you're focused on a project. You spend most of your time remembering. Those wandering thoughts usually go into the past. You ruminate, you dwell on things. If this makes sense for you, put it in the chat. Say, yeah, I dwell on things. Or you might be stuck in future fantasy. We fantasize, you know, all that I should have, I ought to. I should have done this. I could have done that for something that happened in the past. The lower self is all about external approval. I need somebody outside of me to tell me I'm okay. I need somebody to tell me that I'm doing it right. External approval. This is people pleasing. This is where all of our fears, our approval needs are. I got that highlighted because we'll talk about that at the end. This is the part of us that I want to be comfortable. I want it to be easy. I want it to be simple. So the lower self is where all of our fears are. Okay, all of our fears are hanging out in lower self. There's a lot of confusion here. Perfectionism and procrastination are tied together. If you are a perfectionist, put it in the chat and I will say hello to you because my doctor tells me I'm getting better. So it's great to meet my fellow perfectionists. So on this lower self, you know you're hanging out in lower self. You want to take some notes here. You know you're hanging out in lower self when you're second guessing your decisions, when you've got that self-doubt. With second-guessing decisions, you may have decision paralysis. Okay, you're indecisive. You have lots of ideas, but you don't know where to start. And your mind might be racing. There's overthinking here. Okay, if you overthink things, Do you go to bed at night with your mind racing? Do you wake up in the middle of the night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and can't go back to sleep? So tap in if that's you. When you're at work, are you thinking about home? When you're at home, are you thinking about work? You're never where you're at. How about when it comes to speaking to superiors, speaking to leaders? Do you feel equal to them, or do you feel inferior, intimidated? A lot of you might be working with PhDs, people who have big egos. And do you let those people put you down? If you're a working mom or you have somebody else who you're taking care of, do you have guilt, mommy guilt? When you're at work, you feel you should be at home with the kids. And then when you are home with the kids, you're not fully present for your children. Is there tension at home between you and your spouse? Okay, where you get into arguments and fights. Okay, all lower self stuff. Have you been promoted? Are you seeking a promotion? And are you afraid how you're going to perform? So tap in. I'm throwing these out here for you to get some notes down on, yeah, I do that. So you can identify that, hey, I'm just simply hanging out in the lower self aspect. We're also always managing change. Okay, our companies, they're either merging or they're spinning off divisions, or it's like we go through manager changes every single year. Now I'm reporting to this person, and now I'm reporting to this person. So we're always managing this change. If you're in a company that's fast growing, there could be lots of new people coming in. How are you with engaging with new people? All right, do you shy away from that? Okay, so take a look at what lower self aspects you're dealing with. Then we've got, on the other end, we've got higher self. Okay, this is that part of you in that image, in the Become Her image. This is the part of you that's all about growth and expansion. And it lives in the present moment, because the future you desire can only be created in the present moment. It can't be created in the past. Okay, the past is gone. Can't be created in the future. Future hasn't happened yet. Can only be created in the present moment. So what you do today matters. Having that conversation today matters, instead of putting it off towards moving you towards your goals. Asking for that bonus matters, because the money that you make now is more money that your future salaries and bonuses are based on. And it adds up at that compound effect. So today matters. Putting those sneakers on and getting out for that walk during lunch matters today, because that creates the future you want. And so with this higher self aspect, there's this internal knowing that I'm good enough just as I am. Okay, I'm good enough just as I am. I have everything that I need for today, because if you want to write something down, team, these are the words, because the mindset is, I cannot fail, I can only learn and grow. I cannot fail, I can only learn and grow. So this is the part of you that embraces uncertainty. You don't know how it's going to happen, how it's going to work out. And you're going to go through that pain anyhow and see where you land, because that's how you're going to learn and grow. Okay, we all say failure is the stepping stone to success. We just don't believe that. So this is the part of us that embrace challenges. We go through the pain, we embrace the change as we push through our comfort zone. This is so we have that courage, and when we take the action, that's when we build our confidence. Confidence is not built by reading a book, attending a webinar on mental toughness. It's only accomplished and built by taking the action. And we look to do things in excellence, okay? I'm just doing this in excellence. I'm not seeking perfection, but I'm going to take the action. We must take action to build confidence. Must take action to build confidence. So what gets in our way is so we've got this tug of war, and I want you to identify with yourself this tug of war, is that we've got this thing going inside our head, is that some days, we're really in the zone and we really got it and we're really on point. And we're hanging out in higher self, and then we get yanked back by lower self. Lower self, that self-doubt, that inner criticism, that self-sabotage, give that to me in the chat. If you do this, recognize it and acknowledge it in the chat that, yeah, I go through this yo-yo. I go through this tug-of-war inside my head from time to time. So let's see that in the chat. Now, as we move on, what I want you to be aware of here is resistance to change. The big thing about the lower self aspect is that we are resistant to change. And what that puts us into, it puts us in, as Hannah said, you know, chasing my tail. Okay, chasing my tail, meaning I'm doing the same old thinking and I'm getting the same old results. The same old thinking, the same old results. All right, and I see a lot here in the chat with a lot of yeses back and forth that, yeah, I've got this tug of war inside my head between lower self and higher self. Perfectionism issues, yep. Yeah. Okay, so what I want you to see here is this, is that what's going on here is, this is the missing key, mindset trumps skill. Mindset trumps skill. So what do I mean by this? All of you have great skills. You have advanced degrees. You probably minimally have bachelor's degrees. Some of you probably even have master's and PhDs. And since this is a call with SQL programmers, you're all fabulous at programming. You have great skills, you know, structuring databases, you know, SQL, you know, PHP. You've got these skills with data analysis and systems management. You work with teams, so you probably have some teamwork skills, collaboration skills, communication skills. If you're in the customer service end of things or quality, you know, quality and control, you've got those skills. So we've all got those skills. But mindset is what trumps skills. Your skills are a commodity. Your skills are a commodity and they are easily replaced by another worker bee. Everybody has great skills. Okay, we are the most educated society in all of history. So your competition is everybody who has all the same skills as you do. But what your trump card is mindset. So what's happening here is that when you're hanging out in the lower self, that mindset, that lower self mindset is working against you. And I want you to see how quickly this unravels. So in your mind's eye now, go ahead and take a breath and close your eyes. And picture yourself in an elevator. You're all alone in the elevator, the door is closing, and as the door closes, in the last second, jumping in to catch a ride is the CEO of your company. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to say? So if you don't know what you would say, if you get tongue-tied, if you feel nervous, if you have a nervous flush, if you have feelings inside, oh my gosh, I'm with the CEO, I need to say something intelligent, because the CEO is looking at you and expecting you to say the first words, what would you do? And chances are, the majority of you feel uncomfortable in that situation because what happened is all those great skills that you have just went right out the window because of your mindset. So let's see that in the chat. If you know exactly what you would say confidently and assuredly to the CEO, go ahead and put that in the chat. If you don't, then just say no. I don't know. And let's honor that. Okay, let's honor that. All right, Angelica, I don't know what I would say. Kim knows what she would say. Okay, Lisa, I have an idea, but I'm not sure I would be that confident. Okay, Iris, you know, I would say hello with a big smile. Diana, no. Heather, no, probably not. Okay, so thanks for your honesty. Romeen, you know, I completely freeze up when confronted with important people. That's very honest and transparent there, Romeen. Hannah, you know, say morning and then instantly turn bright red. Another honesty thing. Yeah. Yeah. So this is it. So can you see, team, is that we've got all of these great skills. You're so competent in what you do, but the minute the CEO walks in, or anybody in a leadership position, chances are we don't have that mindset skill, that mindset to address that scenario. Okay, and to be able to think on our feet and say something that's engaging. 2 weeks ago, I was with the women at Chemours. Chemours is a spinoff from Dow DuPont, and I was with them in person doing a similar presentation. And this is Mark Vergano, who is the CEO of Chemours. And I had this in their elevator exercise. We did the same exercise. And what was funny in that presentation is I want you to know that the women at Chemours had the same responses that all of you just shared with me in the questions. Then the funny thing is that one of the women said, you know, I was just in the elevator with him this week. And she shut down. She didn't know what to do. And the others in the room were talking. It's like, yeah, and he walks around the halls. So this is where we're going. So you're not alone here. We're all dealing with something like this. So in this case, mindset trumps skill. Your mindset is working against you, and it's overpowering all those wonderful skills that you have. It's also what's holding you back from that image, that greater capable image you have inside of yourself, that gut feeling inside of yourself that you're capable of so much more, that there's more in you to express. So mindset trumps skill. This is a big issue, but there's another big issue here, and it's also how you see yourself. Many of you, too many of you, have limiting views of yourselves. You know, if I were to ask how many of you are programmers, how many of you are system managers, how many of you are database administrators, how many of you are regulatory, how many of you are doing quality control, you know, I would get all of these hands that go up, and they would be wrong. They would be incorrect. What you are, team, is you are an expert. You are an expert that does programming. You are an expert that does database management. You are an expert that does systems administration. You are an expert in customer service that does customer service. First and foremost, you are an expert because, again, your skills are a commodity. They are non-differentiated. You all work in very competitive marketplaces, very competitive corporations. The thing that's going to separate you from a peer, from a colleague going for the same promotion, is going to be your mindset and how you see yourself. Do you see yourself as a programmer, or do you see yourself as an expert in programming? Now, when I said this, one of two things typically happens, and I love doing this in a live audience, is check in with yourself. When I said that you're an expert, did you sit up straighter? Did you sit up taller? Did you fix your posture? If you did, you tapped into a higher self aspect within you. Did you do the opposite? When I said you're an expert, was there a part inside you that said, no, you're not? Did you doubt that? Did you not believe it? Ira says, I just sat up. So if you shrunk from this, if you had a voice inside your head saying, no, that's not true, then for you, you tapped into a lower self aspect. Now, there's no criticism here. It's an awareness. It's simply for you to know where you're at. Let's take this one further, and let me check in with the questions here. Would you say expert is considered the same as senior? No, it's mindset. Okay, and my next slide is going to answer this. It doesn't have to do with title. It doesn't have to do with position. It doesn't have to do with role. It has to do with mindset, how you see yourself. Depending upon where you are in your career, you are either an emerging expert, an expert in motion, or a legacy expert. And I want you to identify where you are. Give it to us in the chat. You are an emerging expert if this is all new to you. If you are new to the company, new in this role, maybe you've been for the company with a long time, but you're in a new role that you don't have subject matter expertise in yet. You're an emerging expert. Okay, Lisa's an emerging expert. All right, do we have any other emerging experts on the call? You are an expert in motion if you've been doing this for a while. Okay, you know it. You know, you're still learning, but you're an expert in motion. Maybe you've got, 10 years that you've been doing this. Okay, so if you're an expert in motion, identify yourself. Here come our experts in motion. Angelica, Hannah, Nikki, Kimberly, experts in motion. Legacy experts. You are a legacy expert if you know this like the back of your hand and you're teaching others now. Okay, we certainly have Kathy, who's a legacy expert. You're our host for our call. We've got another Kathy who's a legacy expert. Dina, legacy expert. Iris, and Anne is an emerging expert. All right, yeah, so you're just at a different level of expertise, but first and foremost, you are an expert. And when you see yourself as an expert, then you're equal to everybody else. Because then you can be in an elevator with a senior leader and know that that senior leader has expertise in this area and you have expertise in your own area. You are both experts because chances are that senior leader cannot do what you do. So a little bit of background here is me. How did I become a mental toughness coach? It came about because of my own self-doubts. Sometimes you need to teach, I like to say it this way, I needed to teach that which I most needed to learn. Because in my past, I was always in my own way. And I was riddled with self-doubt and inner criticism. And I would always procrastinate and put things off. And it drove me crazy. I had a luxury group travel business as well. And I was doing group travel events for the top private clubs in the US, but I wouldn't call the #1 private club. The #1 private club is the Union League of Philadelphia, and back then I wouldn't call the Union League because there was this voice in my head saying, I'm not good enough for the Union League. I'm not sophisticated enough. I'm not experienced enough yet. And this kept getting in my way, and it drove me crazy. I was also a yo-yo dieter with, big weight swings. I'd have 70, 80-pound weight swings. And inside of me is like, why can't I beat this? I know I'm so much better than this. Why can't I beat this? So it was then that I discovered this thing called mental toughness. And I started addressing everything that was going on inside my head, okay? All of that lower self stuff and shifting it. Because once I understood what was going on, then I could shift it. And this funny thing happened. I called the league, I started achieving success. I called the league and they became a client, and I lost the weight permanently and all these magnificent things just simply because of paying attention, thinking about my thinking and what was going on inside my head. Because what I wanted to do, what I wanted to achieve in my life was, I was always this question, like, when was I going to stop faking confidence and simply become truly confident and comfortable in my own skin? So we pay a price. We pay a price when we hang out in that lower self. And I want you to take a moment here and just identify for you, where do you pay a price? Mindset trumps skill. When your mindset is stuck in lower self, how does it affect your health and energy levels? Your ability to think clearly, your overall peace of mind, your life satisfaction, okay, your confidence in yourself, your self-assurance. Externally, okay, those are the internal aspects. Then we have those external aspects. Okay, how does it impact your relationships? Are you fully present there for your kids, your loved ones? Are you able to clearly articulate your thoughts and ideas? How does that affect your job performance in your career? Okay, and then ultimately the promotions, the advancements that you receive, you know, and then money matters, okay? The money that you make now compounds. So the more you make, the more it compounds, the more you're able to do things like travel the way you want, decorate your house, you know, remodel your home the way you want, send your kids to this school, support these charities. So do not discount the money, okay? I hear too often from women, I make enough. No, you don't. Okay, there are charities that need you to make more money because they need that money, okay? So there's always somebody. So what happens here with this mindset trumps skill is it's the missing key, but it's the problem, but it's also the solution. Because what we simply do is we simply shift the mindset. We shift from a lower self mindset to a higher self mindset. And every one of you is capable of doing this. You already do this. So, but when we do it, I want you to see here that it's not a nice to have. In today's business world, in today's corporate environment, this is not a nice to have. It is a must have. An empowered mindset is a must have if you're going to differentiate yourself and distinguish yourself from your peers and colleagues and take on more things that you're capable of. Okay, it all comes down to mindset. This is a core need. So what gets in our way, though, not what gets in our way, but we've all heard this expression, life is 10% what happens to you, 90% how you react to it. Okay, we've all heard that. And what we need to remember, there's only 3 things in life you get to control. They are your actions, your reactions, and your thoughts, your mindset. Okay, so what I'm going to play for you here is, this is one of my coaching clients, Sarah. Sarah is with United Health Group, which is a Fortune 5 company, okay? It is number 5 on the Fortune 500 list. She has been with United Health Group for 14 years. She's in her early 40s, and she's a mom, so she's a working professional mom. And this past year, 2018, she has been moved to an existing team in a new role. And she was really afraid of not being a subject matter expert. So in her coaching together, what she realized is that she is an emerging expert. She's just at the beginning and she's developing. So 14 years with the company and she's going back to being an emerging expert. And I'm going to play her audio. This is a 2-minute audio on her transformation when she started doing mental toughness coaching and becoming mentally tough. So let me grab this.
So I was meeting with someone who I have a great deal of respect for within the organization, who I would say is absolutely brilliant. And she knows quite a bit of the content of and leads this whole team that I will be moving into. And so knowing that I'm an emerging expert in this field of study, I, have some doubts about what I know, and, I feel vulnerable about someone finding out that maybe there's something I don't know. That's what's kind of in the back of my mind. And so in going into that conversation, we were going to be talking about what my new role on her team would be, and understanding that there are areas that I'm working on to develop, but that I also come to that team with a great deal of knowledge and experience in other areas that the team doesn't have. And so I was able to remember that and maintain that confidence in the conversation, so I was not intimidated when she brought up topics that I don't have great depth of knowledge in. I was able to still feel very comfortable with the fact that I know I can contribute and be successful and not be intimidated by the fact that there are other people on this team who know more than me in these areas. And so the conversation went very well. The job is pretty much, if I wrote the job description, it was a combination of conversations that had happened with a variety of people, but it turned out, what ultimately she's looking for and what I want to do match very well. And so I feel very confident, still have some nerves, of course, because it's new to me, but yeah, I feel very confident that I'm making the right move and that I handled myself very well in a situation that in the past would have rattled me in some ways.
All right, so team, mindset matters. And know that in the work that I do with mental toughness coaching, it's corporations that you're familiar with. And so know that you're not alone. It doesn't matter if it's DuPont or HP or Comcast. It doesn't matter what profession you're in. If you're in STEM, if you're in the legal field as an attorney, if you're in finance, we're all dealing with this tug of war between lower self and higher self. Okay, and too often we get stuck in lower self, and that's what holds us back. So what the solution is to shift our mindset and develop our mental toughness. What mental toughness is, it's your ability to clear your mind, to take control of your thoughts, and skillfully manage your emotions so that you can perform optimally in every area of your life. Anne says in here, lower self is draining. So let's get this into the chat as well. Are you controlling your emotions, or for the most part, are your emotions controlling you? Because that is affecting your ability to think clearly and control your thoughts and perform. All right, so let's get that honestly in the chat. Are your emotions controlling you, or are you controlling your emotions? So there's this possibility here, is that when our mindset is working for us, everything becomes possible. Okay, we evolve into that become her, into that become him, everything that we're capable of. It's an evolution. We're not there today because we're constantly evolving. Now that's all well and good. And I'm going to start wrapping this up. Because how? How do you do that? All right. Let me see some of the things that I have here in the chat. Sherry, good job, Sherry. She's controlling them most of the time, but there is a tipping point. All right. So the tipping point is probably what's working against you. Heather says, I'm affected by my emotions. I find that I have a knee-jerk reaction of not liking change and fighting it when it starts. That's great honesty there, Heather. Kimberly, it varies day by day. Sometimes I can control my emotions and sometimes I don't. So what we mean by controlling your emotions is it tension-free, not controlling your emotions as far as bottling it up and ignoring them, okay, repressing them, because that's what we do, and that has massive negative effects the other way, because they will come back to bite you in the butt later on. So how do we do this? Team, given the time, that is not a 1 hour. That is not a 1 hour call. So one of the things that Kathy and I talked about is letting you know about the group coaching. Okay, I do private and I do group coaching and Guts, Grit, and Grace, and I'm holding a webinar. My gift to all of you is I am holding a special webinar next week just for women in tech with SQL Pass. And this is to learn about mental toughness group coaching. That's going to be next Tuesday, the 19th. It's going to run at for 30 minutes, 1:30 to 2 Eastern time. And we're going to take a look at what group coaching looks like, where you can actually do the work. What group coaching is, the how is the actual steps. The steps one by one to do to take control of your thoughts, to start clearing out your head. And what I have in the chat as well, all right, I just posted it there in the chat, is the link, but it's not working. www. Okay, let's try that one. Okay, yeah, so there's a registration link in the chat there. And we'll have more information on that call of what mental toughness coaching looks like, what the actual steps are broken down into nice sequences for you to start clearing your mind, taking control of your thoughts, and skillfully managing your emotions. Okay, mindset is not an option. All right, if you want to develop and take your career to the next level, you must develop your mindset. You already have great skills and you'll continue to develop them. You know how to do that. For those of you who attend the webinar, as I said before, a big lower self aspect is approval needs. I need somebody outside of me to tell me that I'm okay. This is our fear of being judged, fear of being embarrassed, fear of looking unsophisticated, fear of inciting anger, people pleasing. Those are all approval needs. So for those of you who attend the webinar on group coaching, I'm going to give you free access to the approval addiction test. All right, so remaining stuck isn't fun. Okay, if we don't address these things inside our head that are holding us back, it's not a matter of do this, 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 and this to be successful. It's a matter of what's keeping you stuck. Address that so that you can do this, this, and this to be successful. Because otherwise you stay in that loop spinning your wheels. Okay, same old thinking, getting the same old results. Mental toughness is this big game arena of stepping outside your comfort zone, pushing your boundaries, stretching beyond yourself where you are today. And that is not comfortable. That is change. We resist change. And as I said before, that lower self resistance to change is exactly what we need to go into. We go into the discomfort when we're mentally tough. And our motto becomes, I'm comfortable being uncomfortable. The visual image of this is rebar. You know, think of mental toughness as rebar. We just don't pour concrete. We have all of these big, most of you are probably in a concrete building. And that concrete building would fall down if it wasn't for the rebar inside the building that gives it its structural integrity. And that's what mental toughness is. It's your mental rebar. It's your ability to handle anything that life throws at you, to clear your mind, remain calm in high stress situations. Take control of your thoughts, to think logically, critically, creatively, and skillfully manage those emotions so that you're not worried what other people are thinking about you and you're not being affected by that. So again, mindset trumps skill. If you walk away with anything from today's call, it is this: mindset trumps skill. Is your mindset working for you, or is it working against you? And winning the head game then becomes this matter of getting everything inside your head working for you in that higher self aspect instead of working against you in that lower self aspect. So ladies, let's check our time here. Go ahead and throw in the chat some lessons learned as I close this out. Okay, go ahead and throw in, what did you get out of the presentation today? It has been my honor and privilege to help you gain some insight, to build some awareness around what's going on inside your head that's holding you back, that's getting you in the way, for you to open up to this idea of lower self and higher self, that there's just this internal tug of war going on inside of you, and we're all dealing with it. So with that, thanks for being with me. I'm going to shift it over to Kathy to close this out.
Okay, thanks, Bobby Joe, for this session today. You presented a lot of things to think about and some things that we can use to help us have a better year and a better life. And thanks to everyone who attended today and for participating. That was really great. I have one point that may help people, but how I've learned, what I've learned over the last 20 years or so, or maybe 25 years or so, is that if I do things that scare me, as long as they don't involve heights, water, and fire, usually makes my life better. So if whatever seems the scariest usually has the biggest payoff.
Exactly. So I see some things in the chat here, in the questions, looking for the link. The link is in the chat. Let's see, am I able to send to all? Can I put something in the chat here? Let me see if I can. I mean, in the questions.
I was able to answer questions, but I couldn't put anything in there. But I think, let me put this in the chat again. Let me copy it, because I think you just sent it to the organizers.
Organize. Oh, I did, didn't I?
There. Okay. I just sent it to the entire audience.
Great, thanks.
So, if anyone's interested. Okay, so any last thoughts before we go?
All right.
I like what Kimberly put in there. Mind blown. That's great.
There we go. Okay, now I have a working hyperlink in the chat. So we have a working hyperlink in the chat for those of you who are there. And let's see what else we got in the questions too. Dina says, thank you. Love to start a mindset of growth. Yes, yes, it's a growth mindset. Very good way of saying that. All right. Thought about mindset as being something better than skills. Okay, mind blown. Okay, I got that. All right, very good. Heather says, tug of war, it's helpful to see in trying to make this job change that I'm an evolving, an emerging, evolving doesn't matter, but you're an emerging, evolving expert. Right? You're just at the beginning, but it's how you see yourself. Sherry says, I don't want to be in lower self anymore. Amen to that. Nikki says, what she got out, favorite point, and we'll close on this one given the time, your skills are commodity and easily replaced. That is very true, Nikki. Your trump card is mindset. And Nikki, I think you close this out perfectly here. So Kathy, team, thanks for having me.
Okay.
I look forward to seeing all of you next week on the webinar.
Okay. Thank you so much, and thanks everyone. Bye for now.